So I'm going to talk to you about that. Paints that capture carbon. And I'm going to talk to you about that, atmospheric farming. I told you there'd be a farming angle. There is, all right? Well, why am I doing that? Why am I talking to you about atmospheric farming? Well, there are many countries represented here, and whether you're a country or not, or you're an individual, you probably farm flowers or grass, or you farm cotton, grapes, you know, sunflowers, all of those things. Those things, those farmers, those things that they're doing are pulling down carbon. They are just pulling a lot of carbon dioxide. It's on your plate when you eat a potato. All right? They are pulling down carbon dioxide a lot. All right? There are other natural sources. It might amaze you. 8 of the 10 breaths you're taking right now and the oxygen you're using were created no more than about 2 weeks ago, somewhere in the ocean. And Boyle's law says, well, all the gases just go, you know, everywhere on the world, and you're breathing it. You're breathing, diatoms have produced that oxygen for you just a couple of days ago, and a lot of it, all right? So nature and things that we have tried to harness in nature as farmers has got a lot to teach us, a whole lot to teach us. We just have to listen, all right? The Black Sea region, for instance, Caspian Sea, these countries here, and I applaud them, by the way. They're really making an effort at this. And I liked your question a while ago. Is carbon capturing and carbon mitigation and all this stuff we talk about, you know, carbon offset, is that really important? Well, it is, and there's 2 reasons. First of all, whether you believe in climate change or not, okay, it's happening. All right, so, and besides that, who wants to breathe dirty air? Something that's not good for you. You don't want to do that. But the Black Sea region is an agricultural breadbasket of Europe, and they are really good at farming. That means that all of those countries already have the skill sets they need to do what we're going to show you how to do, okay? It's atmospheric farming. Now, I'm supposed to wiggle that. I'm going to run a slide. I'm going to run a video real quick, and this will tell you how we kind of started looking at it. I think this will work.
Climate change. Its effects are being felt worldwide right now. And if we don't undertake drastic change in the next 10 years, we will pass a point of no return. And the impact on humanity will be devastating. But what if we had a solution, one that could be executed before it's too late? Well, we do. At Reactive Surfaces, we have innovated a solution to climate change, inspired by nature itself. Lichen, known as nature's paint, are composed of both algae and fungi. The algae photosynthesize within the lichen, and the fungi allow the lichen to grow in a wide variety of environments, including vertically and on very high surfaces. Paint is like a fungus. It can go vertically on very high surfaces. We placed photosynthetic algae in a paint, maximize the surface area, and it captures carbon effectively and efficiently. We call this platform technology carbon capture coatings. Our studies show that carbon capture coatings are 227 times more effective at capturing CO2 than trees, where 1 kilometer square of trees can capture about 220 tons of CO2 per year. That same kilometer square of carbon capture coatings would capture 50,000 tons of carbon dioxide per year. Let's harness the power of lichen to paint ourselves a solution to climate change. A solution that can be achieved before we pass the point of no return.
So we immediately saw lichen as a possible source of the technology that we needed. It looked like paint. and it was doing the thing we wanted it to do, all right? And that's what we do at Reactive Surfaces. We take, as I told you, functionality out of nature and using the biotechnology, I'm that part of that, one part of that, and then merge it with material sciences. We are sitting on the side of one of the largest paint universities in the United States and the world, for instance. So now, don't go blind, okay? Yes, it's a chemical reaction. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to balance it. You don't have to do anything to it, okay? But you do need to understand something. That's what we want gone, all right? Nature says that's how you get it out of the air. That's how I do it, nature says. I put it on a pigment, something like chlorophyll. I expose it to light, and that energy, about 8 photons, will cause 6 molecules of CO2 and 6 molecules of water to combine and produce a carbohydrate. That's glucose. And of course, that's all the sweet stuff you like in apples and whatever. And oxygen. That is the equation. How do we jam that in a paint? How do we get that there? All right? Well, if you do this, and you take that lichen right there, and you say, well, how are you doing that? And you look at it side on, this is what you see. We took lichen off of a rock, sliced down through it transversely, not me, but someone else did this, okay, and looked inside of it. This is the space, this is the attachment, just like a paint, to the surface you want to paint, the rock in this case. This surface, these are called medullas, this surface allows in oxygen, allows in carbon dioxide, excludes oxygen, it allows in water, it kind of holds the water into that space, and it prevents too much UV from getting down to these cells. The sun gets in quite freely. And here's where the cyanobacteria live, right down here. All of this stuff in the middle, you'll see in just a second, is kind of like cotton. It looks like that. So here are your algal cells being nestled and held by really kind of a fluffy bunch of fibers so that they can expand and grow. They can get lots of gases in. They can release lots of gases. They can have the water come in, micronutrients come in, and the fungus supports them because these feed it glucose. All right? And there are lichen that they've measured. They don't go get new algae. Lichen that are something like 2,000 years old. So they know how to do this. All right. All right. So we knew we're going to go build this paint. We knew we had to absorb sunlight but protect against UV. We need to absorb water but not let too much out. We don't want it to be desiccated, and humidity if we can provide it. And we had to stabilize it in a coating to allow the algae to thrive in that coating. In a paint, what polymers could we use? Well, we asked that question. And in fact, well, we tested lots of them, okay? As chemists, all right? What we found, though, is that there are polymers, natural polymers. This one's produced by bacteria. This is produced by kelp. This one is called xanthan gum, and this one is produced by bacteria. And this is produced by algae, kelp, and it's called alginate. And using those two polymers, we found that the algae loved it. That's no surprise. You know why? Because you probably ate that and that for breakfast today. They make things, they absorb water. They make things fluffy and moist, like a cake or batter or whatever. And so, excuse me, we use these two polymers to build that fibril, that net, all right? Let's see if I'm making, yeah, these are the polymer systems we wanted to light upon. Now, so we came up with a structure. These diagonals are the alginate. They're held together ionically by calcium. If we take that calcium out and replace it with sodium, it releases this whole thing. So we can harvest these cells. These are algal cells. Here's your algal cells. There's the alginate. These brown things going through the middle are your xanthan gum. And we replace the calcium, or we can put the calcium in, can polymerize it, take it out and replace it with sodium and release the algae. In other words, we can harvest it, all right, just like a farmer. I actually am looking forward to talking to farmers in the future because they're going to go, yeah, okay, Yeah, sure. Okay, I get it. I mean, they won't have any problem whatsoever with it, okay? Here is a video. Let me ask you this. Would you like to see it really work? How about this?
The process to make our carbon capture coatings
I did
is
it.
simple and scalable. Here you see two of our technicians. First, they mix the algae and crosslinker component with the other component containing the biopolymers that will gel. Then they can apply these once they're mixed onto our substrate of choice. Right now you see us applying it to a mesh material. We use a drawdown process similar to that used in screen printing to get a smooth coating with even thickness across the entire sheet. After we wait just a few minutes for this material to gel, we can now place these sheets hanging vertically in our carbon capture module to monitor them for their CO2 uptake. The way we monitor is using CO2 sensors. Here you see them placed in smaller containers monitoring petri dishes, and we can simply use those to detect the CO2 parts per million in that container over a given time that we want to monitor. We can do the same thing with the larger carbon capture modules, where here you see another one of our technicians that has the CO2 sensor monitoring both the lab air for its CO2 ppm and a sensor inside the carbon capture module to
About
monitor it.
415 ppm CO2.
Sensors connect to a laptop for real-time CO2 level monitoring. And here you can see that the lab air remains above 400, even spiking when we enter the space, but the module ppm steadily decreases. These lab modules only take up 1/10 of a meter squared in floor space, but house 2 meters squared of surface area of coating.
So I hope that you see that it is possible to capture the photosynthetic reaction in a coating and put it on large amounts of surface area. Here's the math. It's just simple, okay? Photosynthetic rate, and by the way, there is a natural speed limit to that. It's about 18 millimoles or 44 milligrams of carbon dioxide per meter squared per hour. And it's not going to get much better than that, all right? Times surface area gives you the amount of carbon that you can capture, that's captured, okay? It's really simple math. And so you can also see that we need lots of surface area. Okay, that's how we do it, all right? How are we going to scale up to the megaton? We need surface area. So let's watch this. Oh, it's me. I'm supposed to be speaking. Okay, yeah, okay, wow. So these are raceway ponds. This is the way normal algae is, lots and lots of algae is made in ponds. These are called raceway ponds. What we do, though, is we take that algae and we dewater it and we make it into a very, very, very concentrated pellet. If we have to, we ship it from where we originally made it, and we put it into these kinds of devices which amplify and rehydrate the algae. We then take that algae, like you saw Dr. Kemp and her team doing, and spit it in, or mix it into a coating. In this case, they alginate. We then take a screen or a substrate of some sort, and we make sure that we're going to be able to evenly and very thinly spread it across that surface. That's what's happening here. That surface then is turned around and put into some sort of container that we can handle, and we then stack those up or spread them out so that now all that surface area that you see is being multiplied in there doesn't take that much room, and if you stack them, it takes even less room, okay, on the ground. And that's what we're talking about here. We let them mature, okay, let them get ripe, if you will, until the biomass is maxed out in the coating. And then, as I told you, the kind of the beauty of this coating is we can polymerize it, or we can harvest it by taking it out, dipping the screen into a solution that takes the calcium away, and as the sodium pulls all of the coating off, we reuse this. We reuse all of the coating components and the water, and we take the concentrated biomass, the algae, place it into a device called a pyrolyzer. The algae biomass goes in here. We cook it with just nitrogen, not much oxygen. And it makes basically something that looks like charcoal. It's called biochar. This is a durably sequestered form of carbon that will last for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands upon thousands of years. There's all sorts of uses for that. What we could do, one of the first things we do is we make agriculture better. We make farming better. Biochar is great for holding water into soils. Then we can go anywhere with this. I love seeing about the deal about Georgia. I mean, all of those places that are hilly and bumpy and everything, you can't farm too well, but you can have these there, okay? Scaling up to the megaton is direct air capture under ambient conditions. We can also nestle up against an industry. And I'm going to show you that's exactly what we're doing in California. Excuse me. So you saw me you saw Dr. Kemp and her team put it in a 30-liter device. We are already starting to put these things in intermediate bulk cargo containers. These are 1,000-liter size. And as soon as we need more room, we'll stack them in freight containers. And these contain 18 of these. So as you can see, well, I'm sorry, maybe not. Maybe you don't know this. Do you see us using a building of any kind? Do you see us building any infrastructure? Do you see us doing anything but just stacking these things up? And that's what we need. We need to be able to do it fast, inexpensively, and very effectively, all the way from, oh, I'm sorry, we're not doing this. Just make sure. Oh, also, we're not doing this. Remember, biochar we spread on the ground. We're not forcing all that CO2 out of some process, forcing it down in some sort of an injection well where it might leak the gas back up or it might contaminate aquifers. We don't want to do that. And for certain, we are not using it to enhance oil recovery. That just exacerbates the problem. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this. I'm just saying our process is not doing this. So, if you have a patio, you said you were in New York, yeah, but you had a roof, then you just take and start putting a couple of modules together. Each one of you, in America, I'm sorry this is the case, each one of us is about 16 tons of carbon per year that we're responsible for. Most of the world, it's around 4 tons, okay? These things can pull down that level of carbon. So for the first time, we believe, we don't know of any other ones, you can get what we call a personal offset device, a pod, where you yourself can take control of the climate impact. You can also, and we are already working with steel companies, you can push these things next to a steel company that's producing CO2, producing heat, and waste energy, and it can mitigate the effluent stream, capturing the carbon coming out of the steel plant. Okay? And in fact, that's what we're doing. This is our pilot scale facility just to the east of San Francisco Bay. This is the Tracy Renewable Energy Facility. What it does is it takes huge amounts of agricultural waste, primarily walnut hulls in the San Joaquin Valley, puts them in kilns, cooks them, uses that heat to drive steam engines, uses that steam engine to purify water, et cetera, et cetera. We are nestling ourselves up right next to this. In fact, we've already delivered the first pods there. And we will take their carbon dioxide, and we'll take their waste energy, and we'll use biochar that we can give back to the folks in the San Joaquin Valley. All right, that's kind of how it works. We decided, and this is the way James found us, that we would go after this $100 million prize for carbon removal. And that's why you hear us say Team Lichen. We had to have a team name, so we decided Team Lichen, okay? And we're in it, and we're in it to win it. And we're pairing up with other companies, other people who are in it to win it. They allow you to do that, so we're pretty excited about that. I think it's April of 2025, Earth Day, April of 2025. Someone's going to win half that, $50 million. And that's really cool, and we sure like to do that, but we want to go faster than that because, folks, we got to go fast. And I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We had to put a price on this. When you enter in the XPRIZE, you have to go get a third party to take your system, looking at it from cradle to grave, every penny you spend that actually goes into costs, every molecule of carbon you use to get there, and is finally put into a durably sequestered form. You have to account for it if you want to compete for this prize. And we did. We were really pleasantly surprised to find out that our cost per ton of carbon is right in line with some of the leaders right now, like Climeworks, Carbon Engineering. This is where they're coming out, okay, in that range. We were really tickled. We were more tickled because we knew a secret. We can rapidly get it down here. And that has to do with several things. We can sell carbon offsets, okay? That's why I was asking all those questions, okay? We are a gold standard. We're in the gold standard. We haven't got it yet, but we're almost there. We're about to publish a paper, which I think James will give you access to. It's a peer-reviewed paper in Carbon Utilization Journal. It'll show you how we made all these calculations. You'll go blind, okay? We also, we know that we're going to see a lot of cost efficiencies come up. Remember, we're doing this modularly. We're taking stuff off the shelf like used containers, freight containers, and use that. We know we can get it down pretty effectively. Engineering will help. We need some engineering help on that. We will utilize excess energy, waste energy, and that's really kind of all around. And someone I think mentioned tax incentives. The United States government has some pretty cool tax incentives. And I think I heard someone else, one of the countries that was up, talking about tax incentives. They're going to need to do that to help us bring down the price so that regular people can buy these kinds of carbon credits. And that's what we intend to do. Now, this is the other thing. You know, when you grow corn or something like that, you grow corn and you can harvest it and eat it as table corn. But you can also feed it to hogs and get bacon, okay? You can also get oil out of it and fuel cars and stuff like that with it. Same thing here. We can get pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, fish food, pig food, all that kind of stuff comes out of this kind of a crop. And so those will offset, those byproducts, profits will offset as well. All right, so we're at the end of my talk, and I'm sorry it was a little bit jumbled up because they put us up faster than we thought we were going to be. But what can we do? What can you do? I can promise you we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Lawmakers like yourselves, diplomats like yourselves, government entities like some of you can help and actually start tackling the Paris Climate Accord objectives. We'll help you do that. We can help you do that. I want to give another shout out to farmers. Farmers are amazing people. They can do amazing things. The trade associations you might be familiar with, agricultural associations, shipping departments, shipping companies that move agricultural products from here to there. We want to talk to them because those are the very people we need. Those skill sets are what we need to do what I'm showing you here. Of course, corporations. We're ready to hand off this technology to you guys and let you run with it. That's it, and I appreciate your attention. Love to have questions if James thinks we have time. My wife Beth's probably better at answering them than I am. Yeah, if you have questions, I'd just love to answer them if I can.
Sure, I have a quick question for you. At the back here.
Yes.
I think you said that Team Lichen was required to model a megaton facility, and that's where you get the life cycle analysis and techno-economic results you report in your peer-reviewed article. But how are you suggesting your technology can get to a gigaton level to avoid the worst consequences of climate change?
It's a scary question, and we've had to answer that question because you had to do it for the XPRIZE. You didn't have to model it with math, but you had to say there was at least a path forward to that.
Right.
So when I showed you that equation a while ago, it is photosynthetic rate in the paint times the amount of surface area gives you how much carbon dioxide you can pull down. So we had to have surface area. The megaton facility, I suggested to you, that's how we're going to do that. But in order to get to the gigaton, we think we have to go into the ocean. The ocean has got a whole lot of space. I've showed you vertical panels. We are now building them so that they are horizontal, and we call it coat and float. We do the same thing, but we float them on marine surfaces, and I'll show you.
It's underneath there.
Huh?
If you're looking for the video, it's underneath there. Go to the next slide.
Oh, go to the next slide. Here's scaling up to gigaton, a video talking about how we plan to do that.
You talk.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk. Okay. So we scatter certain sized panels out into the ocean. Remember, they're producing, grabbing CO2 from the ocean. There's a lot of it in there. That's what's unfortunately dissolving the reefs. And we produce a lot of oxygen. Remember the equation? That oxygen oxygenates the water. Fisheries are helped. Reefs are helped. And we start to, oxygen actually can help fight global warming as well. We re-oxygenate the oceans. We de-acidify the oceans going in this direction. And we have to put a lot of these things out here. There are companies that are already kind of doing this. In Holland, there's a company called Dutch Docklands that are about to build some of the huge cities that float on top of the ocean. We'd like to take the plastic in the ocean right now, making these horrible plastic plastic islands is really what they are, that threaten the ecosystem in the ocean, and utilize that plastic to make the things we paint, recycle that, and then distribute them through fairly simple vessels, barges. I'm old Coast Guard, so I apologize, but the spin them out, just like you saw us spinning them out in the machines that we're building, where they'll get all the nutrients they need, all the sunlight they need, and the CO2 from the water and the air required for photosynthesis, and we'll begin pulling down it. The algal cells will begin working. The cool thing about algal cells, in the paint, they're doing that, which doubles about every 24 hours. About every 24 hours, algae. When there's one algal cell, there are now two. Where there are two, there's now four. Okay. The biomass contains the fixed CO2. We harvest it and put it into biochar.
Steve, get on the mic.
Pardon me?
Get on the mic.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'm talking about geometric doubling here. In other words, everybody knows what geometric doubling is, I'm sure, but where there's one, there's now two, where there's two, there's now four. We want to do that by taking unpainted sheets, bringing them into close proximation of a painted sheet, and letting the diatoms move from the painted sheet into the unpainted sheet. And we've been able to do that. We can actually inoculate these things while they're in the ocean. Okay? There you go. 20 doublings would be 1 million sheets. If they were a kilometer, that'd be, if they were a meter square each, that'd be a kilometer squared. Okay, I think that's pretty much this slide. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going to have to. Oh, we're going to monitor it. We'll monitor the ocean oxygen, and we'll monitor the CO2 as well in the surrounding waters. We are working already with San Francisco State University, who has a really cool facility that sits right against
Mike.
San Francisco Bay. Oh, San Francisco Bay. And Dr. Catherine Boyer is going to be part of our team, and she is a ocean algae expert. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay, great.
Sorry if I took too long.
No, you were excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm very
Hi.
impressed by this.
Thank you.
My question for you is, have you guys tested different lichen strains to make sure the stability, when it combines with the other compounds, will last for your
Okay,
product?
hold on. I have hearing aids, which means I'm deaf. I'm going to have to watch the picture.
Okay. Have you tested different lichen strains in order to test the stability of the product long term?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I can't wait to do more of that.
Get on the mic.
Oh, right now, sorry. I can't wait. It's exciting. Okay. Right now, we've used about 3 strains, and we're moving into diatoms. There are 100,000 species of diatoms. Okay. Some of them are. You look at a picture of diatoms. They're shaped every possible shape you can imagine. Okay. Some of them can move. We're interested in those right now. But also, we moved from. I can genetically modify algae, which I did to some of the first algae, or one of my team members did for the algae, to build cellulose, especially nanocellulose, very, very valuable cellulose, okay? We moved from that to just a natural cellulose producer, which is called chlorella. You can go to the grocery store and buy chlorella, okay? And it's a good food supplement. It has tons of cellulose in it. So now we're moving into the diatoms. Diatoms are cool because they have a big droplet of oil in the center of them. That's how they float. They can float here, 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 depending on how much oil they have, and that oil can produce biodiesel. So yeah, you bet, a great question. I can't wait to start tackling that. Right now we've done everything we could do to get the coatings in shape and the surface areas in shape, but now we want to do that kind of stuff. You betcha.
Are you guys prepared to do ecological studies to make sure it won't affect, like, if you place, yeah, okay.
That's a great question. That's one of the questions that have been raised. Thank you. That's one of the questions that have been raised about people who are doing these large kelp farms. I mean, what is the impact on the ocean environment? Those studies have to be done. There's no getting around it, okay? What we hope to be able to do is make checkerboards. So there'll be a blank space, there'll be our algae, blank space algae, okay? We're also using diatoms because on average, as opposed to blue-green algae, diatoms have no toxins. And there will be no fish toxins, okay? In fact, what I think is going to happen is these things are going to produce new fisheries. I think you'll see new fisheries arise.
That will be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You bet.